Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we're discussing one of my favorites from Patek Philippe. This is the 5205G-013. The 5205 came out in 2010, but it was this 2018 variant that, in my opinion, really made the model line and allowed it to achieve its aesthetic potential. It is a beautiful watch, and it has most of the aesthetic punch of the larger and vastly more expensive 5208 Grand Complication. But it's a nice compact size in white gold at 40 millimeters in diameter, 11.7 millimeters thick, 49.5 from lug to lug, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on the wrist. You can see it's a broad watch with long arcing lugs. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it wears nicely. Now, the strap is tight, and I am pulling it firmly because it's not broken in, and I want the watch to sit as it would sit if it were buckled down. So I'm pinching my wrist a bit. It will fit just fine on my wrist, and I believe also on a wrists a little bit smaller. So let's say 15 centimeter circumference wrists and up. Here's your over the top, and remember, I'm pinching my wrist here. Then here's your cuff shot. You can see fairly slim, but with a wonderfully sloped case, flank it will easily slide under a cuff. We have a matching gray gold, yes, it is gray gold clasp. You can see Patek uses this radial spring internally, which makes it a little bit more secure than a conventional friction fit clasp when it's snapped shut. We have the Calatrava cross here, which is the logo of the manufacturer. You'll see it on the movement. You'll see it on the crown. Gray gold. It's used here. It is a white gold that never needs to be rhodium plated. So if you do scratch it, it's the same color underneath. And when it goes back to the factory or to service, it does not need to be replated. What's fascinating about this case is just how much you lose if you've only seen these online photos of it. Look at that concave bezel that thins the watch out visually. Look at these scalloped and evacuated lugs. They're mirror polished internally, and they even have hollows. So it's almost like the buttress of the flying buttresses of a Gothic cathedral. Quite beautiful. And the lugs really do extend and taper down. A glorious looking watch. The dial is a gradient blue, so I don't know if you could see this well in my light box. Remember, this is the internet, and I am shooting this with a very primitive camera. But it's lighter at the center and darker at the edge. It's a radial metallic brushed grain like a sunburst. So lighter blue at the center, darker at the edge. And then we have an interesting metallic interpretation of the classical sector dial. You can see we have all these faceted white gold indices that span radially. And then we have these polished concentric circles that act as the frames of the sectors. So we have this purely metal polished sector style dial. The hands at center are modified Dauphine. You can see they're faceted for better contrast. And this variant of the watch does have some lume, which you're going to see now. Just a little bit, but it's there. It is an annual calendar, which means that you only need to make one adjustment annually during the jump from February to March. So we have an American style calendar, date, 8, month. The aperture style goes back many decades in Patek Philippe watchmaking, and it's a classic. Patek also does pointer style registers, but I find this more intuitive to read and thus more convenient. You're more likely to enjoy your complication if you can read it. And it's a practical one. You'll use it daily for dating memos, mail, email, very convenient and fun to own. These calendars are kind of magical. And the annual calendar system was invented by Patek Philippe back in 1996. They created the first one. They wanted to bridge the gap between a simple calendar, which needs 5 corrections per year, and the perpetual, which requires none. So this is one annual correction. We have a 24-hour dial down at the bottom, and here's the purpose of that. There are hours of the day during which you should not be using the pusher adjusters for the calendar. You can see them around the case. Well, those tend to correspond to the nighttime. So from about 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., you don't want to use these. So you look right here to know whether you're looking at 12 noon, for example, or midnight. And you can see that the hand is pointed at 12, not 24, so you know you're looking at 12 noon, so it would be safe if you wanted to set the calendar. The Moonphase sits coaxial with the 24-hour display. And I do believe Patek uses a perpetual calendar style Moonphase on its annual calendar, so I think this is one adjustment every 122 years. You can see the watch does not feature a hacking seconds function. As I have pulled the crown, it is still turning, but you can actually stop the seconds hand by applying a little bit of back pressure if you want to stop it and synchronize to a reference time. The hands, as well as all the dial hardware, including the frame for the date, white gold, so will never tarnish or oxidize. 30 meters water resistant, but that's dress watch water resistance. Don't submerge it. Don't swim with it. Splashes and rain exposure only. Here we have a caliber 324 with the annual calendar 24-hour Moonphase complication on the other side. Unidirectional winding with ceramic rotor bearings for utmost efficiency in winding. 4 Hertz beat rate, 6-position adjustment, 45-hour power reserve, Gyromax style, free-sprung balance for shock resistance and precise setting, and an anti-magnetic Spiromax hairspring, which is both highly anti-magnetic and also breathes concentrically like an overcoil, even though it's a flat hairspring. You can see this is a 34 jewel movement, nicely decorated. We have circular stripes, snailing on the edge of the rotor. We have solarization on the barrel cover, linear stripes on the bridges. Mechanically started but manually finished bevels that look great. Polished screw heads with chamfered slots in circumference. You can see that the jewel sinks have been internally beveled, which is a lovely addition. We have engine turning on the base plate, and then we have satination on the wheels. You can see the locating pegs for the balance cock have been polished on their tops, which is a good look. You can see the 3 of them right there. It is a carefully and thoughtfully decorated premium movement that lives up to the Patek legend. And Patek was rating these from the factory no worse than -3 + 2 seconds per 24 hours, so also a better than COSC timekeeper. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.